Hello everyone and welcome to the playthrough for Pro and Expert Division for the Porthello Cove holes in the Summer Major Tournament. In this playthrough I'm going to go over hole number 1 to hole number 9. Check out the video description down below for direct links for the specific holes. The video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, so let's go. So we're going to start off with hole number 1. Our opponent is going to play right side, we are going to play left. The reason we're playing left is because we're going to go for the rough bump here. I do believe that is a way better way to play. It doesn't really matter if you're going to have tailwind or you're going to have headwind or sidewind. We can say like this: if we're going to have headwind or sidewind, then the left side should be played every single time. If we're going to have tailwind, then we could consider playing on the right side there. But the problem we have with the right side is that we're not getting the angle that we do want for playing this hole. So we're going to play with a Thor's Hammer level 5. I'm going to play with a Titan ball here. Give ourselves a little bit more wind. Max top spin combined with max side spin to the right. And now we're going to adjust this shot for being 10% more than normal. The reason for that is that we're going to play downhill here. So as you can see here, we're going to play this one with 6 rings. A little bit more than 6 rings, so 6.1 rings. But like we say 6 rings. Hit it perfect. Now we do want to travel as far as possible here on this this fairway here. And as you can see, we did use some curl to the right there. That is the reason we do that. Oh, excuse me. The reason we do that is because we do want our ball to kind of like follow the fairway, because the fairway slows down to the left. Look at this angle here. It's like, even though with max backspin, our opponent is not going to have a good chance at all to be able to get the ball to stop. With headwind, sure, but with tailwind here, it's not going to be possible though. Then he must play with the either like underpower the sniper or playing with the Saturn here. It's like with the Guardian here, sure, then it could be a possibility here to go with max backspin with the Guardian here directly onto the green. So our turn now we're going to go for the rough bump, and as you will be able to see with the direction that we do have here, you will see when we do zoom in. First and foremost, we're going to play with the sniper in minimum distance, and we're going to play this shot as we would be taking away 20%. So we're actually playing this one as we would be playing uphill. And why do we do that then? Even though, like, you can see where, like, when on the angle here, we're kind of like dropping down. It looks like we're playing downhill, but no, we're not. So we're going to see, like, going to adjust this one for 7.5 rings. And as you can see here, like, you can see the angle that we do have here. Like, we're going to actually travel up, and we do have this hill. And that hill is going to mean that we're actually going to play uphill than downhill. So coming in just tiny little bit too much. But otherwise, that is a big chance for us to make an eagle there. So, hole number 2 is a par 3. And now, as we're going to have a tailwind here, we're going to go on that platform there, as you can see. We're going to use 2 bars of backspin combined with 5.5 bar of 2 bars of side spin to right and 5.5 bar of backspin. And the thing that we're looking for here is to let the tiny little bit of slope there to push ourselves towards the green, even though we can see our ball guide line is actually pushing left here. The thing that you do here with tailwind is not going to be the same as you're going to have headwind, because with headwind then we're going to have to play on the fairway just before the rough to kind of go for a double bounce towards the green. Now we're coming in a little bit too much to the right, but still going to be a decent shot here, and we're definitely going to make a birdie. So our opponent here is going to play a different approach, and he's actually going to play the approach that I was actually talking about if you will be playing in headwind. The reason we can play on that fairway just directly towards the green is because we are going to have a little bit more distance, and of course with tailwind easy to approach here, and our opponent is actually going to decide to do that himself as well due to having the tailwind that he has. But again, headwind, you're not going to be able to play like that. And then we need to play that one a little bit differently. Sure, if you're playing with a wind 5 ball, for example, even in tailwind, then you might going to play from that first fairway anyway. This is a tough one to make a hole-in-one on, guys, so that is something that we'll need to have in mind. So if you do make a birdie, then you're going to be okay with that. The thing to have in mind there as well in the end, 30% extra adjustment as we're playing downhill. So hole number 3 here, and here the wind decides how we're going to play this one. So we're either going to play left up there, or we're going to play right down there. And the wind decides, and the only way I would be trying to go over on the right side is if I would be having some type of side wind to the left combined with tailwind or straight tailwind. I wouldn't be risking with this type of wind, because then we're going to have a big problem and we're going to have a tough time to reach over actually. So the thing that we're going to do is that we're going to play left side as our opponent's going to do. But as you can see, this is massively uphill, which means that the ball is not going to be affected by the wind much at all. And the thing that you can see here, like, look at the ball, look how it rolls, and that is something to have in mind with the drive, is that we do want to go short. We don't want to go full blast down the middle, because if we do hit ourselves into the rough or into the bunker, we're not going to be able to reach for the green too. And then we're going to have a big problem though. So the thing that we're going to do, we're going to pull off to be in max distance of our club, and then we're going to just go a tiny little bit of overpower. So we're going to around like 30% of overpower here, not more than that. And as you can see here, look at the ball with the roll here now. Look how far we're going to roll, and look how the fairways going. Like, we're dropping down to the right. So if we're coming in like with too much speed, we are many of the times going to be stuck with the rocks there in the rough, and then we're going to have a very tough time to reach for the green in 2. If not having massive tailwind, then we're not going to be able to reach. So look at this, our opponent is having the Guardian level 6. Here you do need to have a club with a good distance, and you also need to play your shot 40% extra. Just listen, like 40% extra, that is a lot. And our opponent is not doing that, which means that he's going to bounce just before the bunker. So look at this push the ball is going to get by the wind now. As we're playing that much downhill, and that is the reason the ball is going to be affected by the wind that much. So we're going to go with our sniper here. We would be changing this one out to the Cataclysm if we would be having the chance, but in regular tour play you don't have that chance. So we are going to play it in max distance. We're going to play with 3.5 bar of topspin, combined with 3 side spin to the left, as we're going to want the ball to, as the green slopes a little bit down to the right, so we want to have that side spin there, combined with the side wind here. So now we're going to adjust this shot for 13.5 rings, which is 40% extra. As you can see, that 10, 3.5. We're going tiny bit of curl to the left to just count off that. Now we could be playing this one without the curl, but as you can see, look at this, we're still hitting the fairway, coming in very nicely. We went close to the rough there, so maybe take away the curl. Or just a tiny little less curl, but in the end we played this one 40% extra and we still made it like that. So happy with hole number 3. Hole number 4, you're going to see 2 different type of approaches here to this screen. The first situation, we're going to have headwind, and then we're going to just lay ourselves up on that second fairway just after the water. Have in mind that you need to adjust this shot 10% extra, so you're not forgetting about that. And if you're having headwind that is 8 miles per hour or more, then you can't reach over if you're not having an Apocalypse level 6 or 7 with that topspin. Then you're going to most likely be stuck in the rough. So our turn now, and now we're going to play with Apocalypse level 6. As you can see, we have 6.8, not straight headwind, but like southwest wind, which is not the best. So we're going to go with max topspin. You can actually use max topspin here, as you will many of the times stay away from going over there. So 50% overpower. We hit it great though, and we're going to cut the rough to roll out. And put ourselves on the middle there. And now, you ladies and gentlemen, now we do have a tough approach for the pin. And now you need to play with a Saturn or with a Tsunami. The reason we're going to play with either of those clubs is because we don't want to find ourselves in a situation as our opponent is doing here with the Goliath. You do need a lot of backspin. We do not want to try to play this shot what can I say? We don't want to try to play this shot by bouncing on the fairway that slope massively down, or play for the rough bump, because that is going to be too tough in general, and it's going to be very hard to adjust for. Have in mind as well that we're playing uphill, so the ball is going to be affected a little bit less by the wind, as the green is on a higher point than we are shooting our shot. So we actually, and that means that then we're going to have to adjust for a little bit uphill. So I'm going to take away 10% in this adjustment here. So we're going to go with Saturn, and as you can see here, even though with the Saturn with that amount of backspin, we're not going to have a good chance to go for the pin anyway. Then we're going to have to, like, with some type of tailwind, we're going to have a tough time nonetheless, no matter if we're having Tsunami or the Saturn, doesn't really matter. So we're going with 5 rings here, and we're also putting, as you can see, the landing target a little bit up in the end. The reason for that is when we're dropping down and have a lower trajectory, it's going to affect the ball less. As not affecting the ball less, we're going to lose distance. That is what I mean of a shot. So that may be weird, but that is how the mechanics works. So, and after this approach here, we're going to go with a slight different approach, which is going to be with tailwind for a drive, and I'm going to show you how you can handle this hole with that type of wind. So as you can see there again, it's like it's going to be very, very tough for you. If you drop down into the bunker there, you're going to find yourself on playing massively uphill. If you do that, then have in mind that the ball is not going to be affected by the wind anything. It's like, as you see, the ball is not traveling in the air whatsoever. So then you can play, just put the ball guy straight to the hole, use as much backspin as possible. So if you are afraid to go into the rough there, go with Houdini from the sand. And from the rough, go with the Racer, if you're not having an upgraded Nirvana. Because, again, you're going to have to use a lot of backspin. Houdini is perfect from the bunker, as you do get a lot of backspin combined with the ball guy line there. And that will definitely help you big time, instead of finding yourself with the Malibu or with the Spitfire that doesn't have that much backspin if you do drop down. So it's going to be a tough approach. For this hole, I do hope we will get some tailwind. Then we're going to have a little bit funnier, a bit funnier time to play this hole. So as you can see here, we're going to have 9.9. We do have the Thorsam level 5, so we're going to change to a blue marble. The blue marble here gives us a power 4 combined with wind resistance 1. So we're going to get more wind, and we're going to reach further, and we do need that. You can see we're going max overpower and max side spin combined with 3 bars of top spin, and as you can see we're reaching over kind of easily, and we do bounce in the rough towards that fairway. Have in mind, do not use max topspin on your drive there if you're going to try to go over, because then you're going to bounce over into the water. So 3 bars of topspin is going to be enough. If you're going to have a berserker, then you have to use less overpower, as it has power 5. If you're going to try to go over with a Kingmaker or a Titan that has power 3, I wouldn't suggest to try to do so if you're not having at least 11 in wind and those straight tailwind. It's still going to be tough, and for the second bounce, we do need that 2-3 side topspin to roll ourselves, to bounce ourselves in the rough, to roll out to the fairway. So again, do not take that much topspin for your drive. Otherwise, you're going to have a trouble here. So okay, as you can see there, we're probably going to see some people using the rock there behind, especially if you don't have the backspin for it. It would be cool to see if someone could drop that one in the hole in the tournament actually. We're going to go play with the Thorn here, which is going to allow us to use the max backspin, as we do have the Thorn level 8. And this is the reason we're going to try to get to that fairway patch where we ended up with our drive. We're going to adjust this one for 2.6 rings. We are going to adjust this shot for being 10% uphill. So we're going to take away 10% of our normal adjustment. The only problem we have here is that we do forget to adjust our ball guideline position due to the push that we're going to get for having side wind. So that was hole number 4 with 2 different approaches, one with headwind, one with tailwind. I hope that helped out big time for you, and it definitely give you some thoughts on how to play it. Our opponent is going to go with the rough iron here. As you can see, it's going to be possible to land this one on green, and of course having headwind is definitely going to help. So hole number 5. In my opinion, here is going to be 2 ways to play. There's going to be one way to play if we're going to have a good amount of tailwind. I'm going to play in the middle. If we do have any other type of wind, I'm going to play right side. The reason I'm doing so is because from the middle there, we're not going to reach and to get enough distance to give ourselves the possibility to get to the green in 2. And our opponent is going to show why. So we're going to max overpower 1 ball of curl to the right. Max topspin, max side spin to the right as well. The ball is going to be affected 10% more than normally. So add 10% with your adjustment there. So as you can see here, our opponent's going to try to go straight forward, and even though with a win 5 ball, it's definitely going to be something that you will need to have in mind, as it's not going to be able to reach that far. Even though you get a double bounce on that first fairway, then to the second fairway, then over to the third fairway, it's still not going to have enough distance to reach for the green in 2. And that is something that we will see many players have a big problem with. So you will have to take that harder approach to the right side. But if you're having tailwind here, like let's say you will be having like an 8, 9, 10 mile per hour tailwind, pull off a berserker ball if you have to, go full blast down the middle with as much topspin as possible to get you over to the 4th fairway. A lot of fairways, but yeah, because that is going to help you big time, as then you're going to have a long iron as for your approach. So we're going to adjust 8.2 rings for our sniper being in max distance, and we're going to have max side spin to the left combined with a couple of bars backspin, or 1 bar backspin. The thing that we do forget to do here is, like, when we do have side wind here and combined with side spin as well, then we need to move our ball guideline position a little bit to the right of the pin, like 1.5 squares. The reason for that is that when we do hit the ground, the ball is going to be pushed more to the left, as we're going to come in with the ball like this. So the ball is going to be on a flat, okay, hard to show, but like on a flat surface, when we go coming straight, then ball we're going to bounce straight. If we're coming like a little bit to the left, then we're going to bounce a little to the left. So then we need to adjust for the second bounce as well. For our opponent here, you can see even if he would be having an Apocalypse level 7, he wouldn't be able to reach for the green in 2 here without a tremendous amount of luck. And the thing that you do want to do is to either bounce it just before the bunker over to the green, or going directly over the bunker. And that of course requires for you to get a drive that is going to reach a lot further than he did. So that was hole number 5. And now we go directly over to hole number 6. You're going to see 2 approaches here. One when we go for the rough bump, and one where we actually play it conservative actually. The thing to have in mind here is that the ball is going to be affected way more by the wind. So a normal adjustment here is going to be 50% extra. So as you can see, we are playing massively downhill here. So if you're playing, like for an example, if we're having 10 in wind with a sniper, then we would be adjusting the shot for being for having 15 in wind. So that is how much we're going to actually over adjust this shot. So we're going to start off here now with the rough bump here, and as you can see we're going to have 7.2, and then it's possible for us to go for the rough bump. I would like for us to go with having a little bit more rough in our line, like on our landing position there. 4 bars of back, 1 bar to the side, as we do have wind right to left. I'm going to line up so we are like 1 square towards the right side there of the pin. And now we're going to adjust this shot for being 50% extra from max club distance. So we're going to go with almost 7 rings here. We hit it perfect, and as you can see the ball is going to fly, 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 and we just hit the rough there. And that is what I said before, like we might want to go a little bit more to more when we do have a little bit more straight rough, a little bit more to the left from our landing position. But in the end it worked well, close to an hole in one. So now we're going to play directly there on the fairway. Then it requires for you to have at least 6-7 bars of backspin, otherwise you're going to have a problem and going to come in too hot if you're going to have some slight tailwind. So we're going to still adjust this shot for being in max club even though we are not, and we're going to add 50% here. So as you can see we're going with 5 rings when we do have 5.3 miles per hour with our Thor's hammer. Make it bounce, and we make it bounce again. As you can see, those long bounces, just think about it yourself. If you would be having tailwind, just think about how long that first bounce will be as for the extended ball guideline. That is why we need a good amount of backspin. So the Thor's hammer is good here. The quarterback will be good as well on this particular shot. And the thing also to have in mind here is like that first and foremost, I don't think you should be trying to bounce on the islands whatsoever. That I would say take away that one directly, as then you will have two bounces that are going to be affected much due to the elevation here. But the thing that we're going to do when having headwind is like you need to adjust your club for being in max distance at 50%, and then you add 1.5 to 2 rings. You do have 1.5 rings if you do have wind below 10. If you do have wind over 10 in headwind, then you add 2 rings. So as you can see, our opponent coming in a little bit too hot, and that is the thing that you're going to come in with many of the times when it comes to hole number 6. So hole number 7! Now you're going to see 2 approaches here. One where we're actually going to try with full iPad curl. And then you may be thinking like, oh, I have landscape mode on my phone and I play with an Android. Yeah, sure. Then you're lucky, because with landscape mode you do not need to go with any hook or slice on this particular shot with this wind. As you will be able to see, we're going with as much side spin as possible with 4 bars of top spin. We're going to adjust this shot 6 rings. We're going to adjust this one just a tiny little bit more. And also because we're going to adjust it 10% more as we're going to play slight downhill. Max curl. And as you will be able to see here that we're going to come in with a good bounce, and the side spinning are going to help us big time. But as we're not having that little extra, then we're going to roll up into the rough. But just think about it. If you do have more curl, like landscape mode for example, then you're going to definitely get it closer to green. So that is definitely a good way for Android users to use if you do have that. Otherwise, we will have to go for a hook or a slice shot. And that kind of can be applied from either right or left side, doesn't really matter, because you're going to be able to do that from both directions. And you know that hook or slices is hard to master, but definitely something that we're going to work with. And if that is going to be applied when it comes to the tournament win that we're going to have, then I'm going to add that in a playthrough. Otherwise, I'm just going to stick with those 2 versions that we're having here, because we don't know if we're going to have headwind, if we're going to have tailwind, or we're going to have sidewind. And as for a regular general tour play as well, then we kind of need to find ways without having to hook or slice, because again, it's not the common way to play. 10 miles per hour, 10.6 miles per hour. We're going to go with two cups to the left to adjust for this one. As we're playing this one downhill, I would otherwise go with basically, if I would be having flat, I would go with 1 cup to the left of the pin. Now we're going 2 cups, we hit it perfect, and I'm going to drop this one. So now we're going to take a look at the second approach here that we're going to have. And that approach is going to be an approach that we are going to lay up on the right side. Our opponent is going to try, but as you can see, 10.3 miles per hour in your face with being affected 10% more. So it's basically that you're going to have 11.5 in wind in your face. And 11.5 in wind, that is not going to be possible for you to reach over there. And as you can see here, our opponent hits it perfect, but it's not going to be possible to reach over. It's going to bounce into the bunker, and from this approach it's going to be hard for you to get that eagle. And that is the thing, you know, we need to find a way here on this hole number 7, which is a short par 4, that we actually can be on fairway shooting for the eagle, even if we have headwind. And that is why we are going to decide here in the end, after mixing it up a little bit here, we're going to go on the right side to just lay ourselves up there, go with a long iron towards the pin. And if you're going to do that, then you can pick whatever long iron you want. So 10.2, as you can see, we use max backspin. That is just because I kind of want the ball to stop there, but you can use less backspin, of course, and you can play with whatever driver you like in this position. Of course, with a quarterback, you need to overpower a little bit, but you don't have to overpower as I did. So you can actually play it a little bit more conservative, take away a couple of bars backspin, let the ball roll a little bit more. Then of course the ultimate position would be to get as close to the top there as possible. So you can see here from the bunker, it's going to be tough for our opponent to reach, you know. It's going to be very tough. And then not reach, sorry, to get it in the hole. That's going to be very tough. Of course he's going to reach. So that is not going to be a problem though. Of course the water is the thing that you need to stay away from. So now we're going to use a couple of bars side spin. The reason for that is that we do want to put ourselves away from the rough there. So we're going to go with 3 bars and then 3 bars backspin. So 3-3, and then we're going to adjust our Saturn from this position. We're going to go from mid to max distance of our club, as we're going to adjust for 9.7 in wind. So we're going to play this one like just a regular, no uphill, no downhill, so just general 4.5. So if you are in minimum distance of your club, then you adjust for minimum numbers, and then if you are in medium distance of your club, you adjust for mid numbers. If you are in max distance of your club, you adjust for max numbers. So look at that one. That is always nice when you hit straight at the pin for an eagle. And that is, again, that could be a better way to play if we're having a strong wind. But we'll see what wind we're going to get in the tournament for hole number 7. So 6.7 in wind. We're going to adjust this stuff for being 25% more. So as we're playing downhill and also over water. So 6.7, it's going to be adjusted for being 8.4 rings. 1 bar side spin to the right, 3 bars backspin. Sorry, 4 bars backspin. And the thing that I want to look for is that I do want to find myself with my landing target on the left side there. You can see my ball guideline push a little bit to the right there with the spin. As for we are having the wind right to left. Now we're hitting the ball great, so we're coming in a little bit too much to the left here. With coming in with a perfect shot, we would be more straight to the pin. But have that in mind, it's like just mixture a little bit with the spin there, then you should be on the green all the time. You want to hit the left side of the tiny fairway there, because that bounce is going to be more like spot on than hitting on the right side there. The thing to also have in mind here is like there's no fault in dropping off this green. The only thing that you will have to have in mind is that you do have rough and bunkers just around the green, and if you're coming in too hot, then you're going to have a problem. That is why I'm using using a little bit more backspin than general, but that is just that if we roll up towards the green, but we're not rolling that fast, then going to drop off, and we're still going to get stuck on the fairway instead going into the rough. And of course, do not forget the 25% extra, because you do not want to have a rough iron from 30 yards away from the pin like our opponent was going to have. Hole number 9, last hole of the tournament, and we are going to play this one on the left side, a bit conservative. You can play this position as our opponent is showing if you're going to have tailwind. If you're going to have headwind, then it's just going to be stupid, because you're not going to have the possibility to reach over for your second shot. With tailwind, then I suggest that you go with, first and foremost, a driver that do have a good ball guideline and accuracy, like the quarterback for an example, so you can put yourself up there nice and easy, as close to the top as possible, because that is required. Then you need to have an upgraded guardian, in my opinion, to go with either the rough bump for a second shot, or go directly towards the green with max backspin with the tailwind that you're going to have. So that is the way to play on the right side. You're going to see our opponent's shots after that. So, but we are going to play left side to show both ways here. And the left side is going to be, I would have to say, it's not going to be that hard, even though it's going to be, what can I say, it's going to be hard for us to get to the green if we are having, if we're not having a good wood club. So as you can see, our drive, we're going to cut the rough here. Top spin. Max top spin, max side spin to the right. We are adjusting our shot for being 10% extra, so we're playing it slightly downhill. We also have a little bit water to account for. As you can see here with the sniper, you can see even with stretched out, he's going to be in max distance. That is why we do need some tailwind here, and also going to need a club with more power. And the sniper maxed out has 172. The Guardian has 179, and those 7 yards is going to make a big difference. And of course, if you don't have Guardian there, go with an upgraded Cataclysm if you do want to play this way. And I would have to say, I'm going to play this way if we're going to have Tailwind, because then I'm going to go for the rough bump or go directly to the green, because that is going to be an easier time, at least, to try to go for the Albatross. And now, we do have the sniper as well. Now we're going to deliberately hit our shot good, just because we're going to have the wind right to left, and we do want to have, we do need max top spin and as much side spin as possible with our club. And then we're going to also go max overpower and max curl. And as you can see, we do hit it good deliberately to get this one close to the green. We still need a little bit more curl anyway, but we're still going to get stuck there in the fairway for an easy wedge here for hole number 9. So a tough hole that we end up with, and you might going to be for a short wedge there towards the pin to get that eagle if you're not doing 2 really good shots to get you there. So this was hole number 9, and this was a playthrough for Pro and Expert Division. Check out the video description down below for the direct links to the specific holes here in this playthrough if you don't want to watch it all. The video is sponsored by Golf Flash and Playdemic, and I want to wish you in the end the best of luck in the Summer Major.